G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. We'll have all the show notes and any resources mentioned in the cast on our website. In 2013, quit corporate law to look after their sick child for a couple of years. In 2015, aged 42, took over managing her husband's physio practice. Soon after, added another site, then acquired a competitor with mixed results. Advice if acquiring a business, don't agree to hire everyone, put them through a recruitment process and have a good shareholders agreement in place. Over 5 years, grew sales 130%, more than 23% compound per annum, FTE 8 to 19, soon to be 22, funding through grants, bank loans and profits. Felt she'd succeeded when, recently, doing really well and absorbed that fact in. Hardest thing about growing a small business is time and money. What Trisha would tell herself on day one of starting out is, it's a marathon and not a sprint, and the to-do list will never be finished. Go back to episode 32 and hear Damien Mackey speak of distilling at home with a 300 litre still, the only triple distilled whiskey in Australia. Then took on a business partner, going to 3 stills, the largest of which is 4,500 litres, sold out and returned to the backyard with a 700 litre still. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Trisha Cashmere from The Healthy Body, based in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Trisha.
Thanks, Troy. Nice to be here.
And how we know each other, that's an easy one. Peter, our podcast editor in Kenya, reached out and asked if you'd like to come on the show, and we are glad that you decided to.
Thank you. Yes, and I think we also have a common colleague, Tina Tower.
Yeah, I interviewed Tina not that long ago, and her cast is now live. Tina Towers was a really, really fun and energetic cast. It took me about a week to come down from that. It was like drinking Red Bull or something. She probably won't hear this, so I think I can get away with it. So tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So my business, The Healthy Body Company, is a group of health practices, primarily physiotherapy, but other services as well, like massage therapy, yoga, Pilates, depending on the location. We're located in Sydney. We throughout metropolitan Sydney, so western suburbs and southern suburbs of Sydney. We make money by selling our services, so it's a fee-for-service business. Some of our services are funded externally as well. So we do run special classes for people with things like diabetes that are funded by external bodies. But, 95% of our work is fee for service.
Yep, great. And tell us how you started out.
In physiotherapy.
Well, the business, yeah.
It's a long, long story, but I'll keep it quick. As a young person, I was actually really kind of motivated to go into a professional role. That was... that idea of stability, it's so boring, so not Tina Tower, I've got to say, was what I was looking for. And so I did become a physiotherapist, and then I retrained as a lawyer and worked in a commercial firm in Sydney for years. We won't talk about
Too long.
Yeah, that's right. And then I did come to the realisation that those sorts of jobs are pretty inflexible, and life also happens. So the flexibility of being a business owner was very attractive, and I left my corporate job in 2013 and kind of Healthy Body Company emerged in 2015.
Great. Yeah. And what age were you in 2015 when you decided to become a small business owner?
So I was 42.
Yep.
That's
great.
Old.
And is there anything you want to talk about in that 2-year gap between 13 and 15? Just take some time off, or?
I had a very sick child, actually, Troy. One of my kids got cancer.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, that's okay. He's fine now, so that's fine.
Yep.
But it was a massive wake-up call.
Yeah.
You can't be in an office and looking after a sick child. So
no,
I was highly motivated to look at other options.
Yes, I could imagine. Out of interest, I had some friends have, how old was your son at the time?
He was 10 when he was diagnosed the first time.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I had some friends in Melbourne. I think their son was about 8. He's all clear now as well, but fight. There's a lot of chemo and etc. So
yeah, most kids do really well, but it's a bit of a rough. I mean, as for everybody who has a cancer diagnosis, it's a rough journey. So
yeah, it is. All right. Do you have some key numbers you can share to show the growth, to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yes, let me tell you. So 2015. since then we've grown 130% income increase in our fees, which, is
Is that
pleasing.
like every year, year on year?
It's actually totally over that time, which is, not bad for my industry, I've got to say. My FTE went from 8 to 19 in that time. And we're actually adding 3 more FTEs at the end of this year.
Oh, great. So it'll take you up to 22.
Yeah, that's right. So I've actually got a team of sort of 35, and some people work flexibly. So probably my estimates of my FTEs are a little on the conservative side.
Yep.
But lots of moving pieces.
Yeah, great. And when was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Yeah, that was a great question, Troy. And I don't know that I have ever felt like that yet.
It's a good reminder, isn't it, to think about it sometimes?
Absolutely. I spent a bit of time reflecting on that question and what success means to me. And I think that it's really only very recently that I've sat down and gone, you know what, we're doing really well. And I'm trying very hard to appreciate that and sort of not even celebrate the wins, just absorb the fact that it's all okay. I think I have had this long-term view that it all could go to crap at any moment, and that's, I don't know, probably something that's built in me. Mm-hmm. And the pandemic, frankly, didn't help with that.
Scared the shit out of a lot of people. Yeah,
that's right. But the reality is that we've got a great team. We've got great businesses. It is going really well. So I'm just trying to reflect on that and enjoying that.
Yep, great. So how many sites did you start with, and how many locations do you have now?
Okay, so my husband and I had a business for a long time, which was one small physiotherapy practice that he worked in, and it was just kind of turning over. So when I look at growth from what that business was doing.
Yep.
I jumped in and took over in 2015 and started a new site with a new business partner.
Great.
We started with one person there and then grew that out to 5 full-time physios with a support team around them. I acquired a third business in 2017.
Yep.
Which was an interesting experience that we can talk about a bit more later if you like.
Yes, please.
We've grown by different ways. So the original business we did buy a long time ago, but it was a walk-in, walk-out scenario. Then the startup, and then the kind of takeover.
Yep, great. All right, we'll get back on track. What does success look like to you?
So I think the first thing is that it means that I can do what I want when I want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that whole thing around flexibility and lifestyle. And really, it's boring, but financial security, so just knowing that I can get what I want when I want it for my family and for myself. For my business, success is different. Like, I really want to have this fantastic business where everybody in my team feels like they're in the right place doing the right thing, and where they're all feeling like they're well rewarded. So I'm not looking to have a business where I'm leveraging massively off people and they're being left behind. I really want to try and bring everyone along together. And so far, that strategy is working really well. Great.
And on that, have you got or considered putting in something like an employee share ownership plan?
No, but what we have done is, and so that startup in 2015 was with a previous employee, and that is something that I'm very open to, and I make it quite clear to my senior team that is something that we're open to replicating our business model with them as an equity partner, and it's a really nice way of giving them something to work towards, because that's a challenge in health. Sometimes in small business there's nowhere to go, and so the only way they see is to go out. And we really want to keep our great people, and that's a way that we can see that we can help them to grow with us.
Yeah, great. I did an interview yesterday with Craig West, who specialises in ESOPs, or employee share ownership plans.
Yeah.
So that cast will be live by the time this cast is live. So we'll link through to that in the show notes, but I'll shoot you an email when that one's live. It might be worth listening to. I sat in on one of their webinars a month or so ago and was quite impressed with it.
Yeah. Are we on? Because I'm just going to say I've actually got someone that I'm talking about bringing in.
Okay.
At the moment, but that's still a bit.
As in equity-wise?
Equity position, in one of the existing locations. Just to it's just nice having someone with skin in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, Peter will cut that bit out in what I'm saying now, but you'll hear in the cast there's some really powerful numbers that ESOPs bring, such as retention rate goes from 5.4 years up to 9.5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Productivity goes from increases 7 to 23%.
Yeah.
And engagement goes up. All these international studies that show how employee share schemes work. And he talks all about all that and gives an idea on how much time an owner's needed to set it up and run it, which is not much, and what the costs roughly would be. But I'll shoot you through some stuff on that after.
It's actually a really good idea when you don't want to work so hard and be responsible for everything.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
So I can only speak to service-based businesses, which is what we've always had. And I think that word of mouth and referral is absolutely the most valuable tool. And it's interesting because I was reading James Clear's, little weekly email this week, and he had a quote from Sam Altman. Can I read it to you? Because it actually just resonated with me so strongly. So it said, all companies that grow really big do so in only one way. People recommend the product or service to other people. What this means is that if you want to be a great company someday, you have to eventually build something so good that people will recommend it to their friends. In fact, so good they will want to be the first one to recommend it to their friends for the implied good taste. No growth hack, brilliant marketing idea or sales team can save you long term if you don't have a sufficiently good product.
Absolutely. Did you say that was Sam Walton?
Sam Altman.
Oh, Altman, sorry.
Yeah.
Great.
So from his book, and that is my team. Like, we want to be the best at what we do. I sort of say to them, 80% of the people in our industry can do a great job with 80% of the people, but I want to be that 20% who can do a great job with everybody else, and that's what we're going for.
Great. Yeah. And do you use the Net Promoter Score or any other kind of customer satisfaction benchmarking or surveying?
Yeah, so we use SurveyMonkey as a tool. We have, it's a part of our quality assurance program. We also have it sort of linked from our website, and we send out, post when people finish with us, surveys. It's actually, I worry though that it's a bit too good. The results, and it could be just because we are so good, which we are, but I am looking to capture the unhappy people too, and we don't seem to be doing that at the moment.
Like, are you getting any negative reviews on socials or?
No, never.
Well,
so the only negative reviews we've ever had on social are from people that have never been to our business, so just
your competitors,
trolly type people. Exactly. And that's only happened a couple of times, thankfully. And in terms of the survey, no. So very occasionally we'll get someone who's just happy but not thrilled, but mostly it's thrilled.
Yeah, great. Well, maybe, Trisha, here's an idea. Maybe you guys are doing a great job, and that's why there's no negative feedback.
Well, yes, and the lawyer in me, though, Troy, always looks at the other side.
Yeah. So what is your score that SurveyMonkey churns out for NPS?
Yeah, so 9+.
9. Yep. So as we talked about just before we started recording, it's different. You're collecting the right data, but you're just calculating it differently. So I'll send you through the article the blog post I wrote on Net Promoter Score and how to calculate it a little bit differently. It explains all that and why that one question is so powerful. But but I also recommend keeping those exit surveys down really short. So Net Promoter Score, I always put first. Then I ask, what's one thing we could change about our business or service? What's one thing you wouldn't change? It's really important to get that positive reinforcement too, so you can share with the team what they're doing, especially if you see trends. If do you want to give any feedback on a specific team member or team members? And then the last question I ask is just any other feedback, and that's when they can download. If they're really unhappy, they can let loose, and that protects your socials from any negatives often getting through on the social platforms. And the final little tip, I'm going to write a blog post about this, as I mentioned, is to put the founder's name and mobile number at the bottom and say, please call me or email me directly if you're really unhappy. And people really appreciate that openness.
I think that sounds like a great idea. We'll see how many people call me.
Yeah, and then you can blame me. To divert your phone to mine.
Oh, that's a funny idea.
Yeah. So how did you fund the business?
So we've done all the things really. We've had bank loans, own funds, partners with equity. I would say I have no love of banks. They're horrible to deal with as a small business person. Despite a very long and very, uneventful and successful history in business, they still won't lend me anything unless I've got property guarantees and personal guarantees.
Yep.
We've also been had access to a few different, government grants along the way where they've had things for, growing. When you used to add an FTE, the state government in New South Wales would give you payroll exemptions and different things. So we've taken advantage of those things as we've been able to.
Right. And what about talking about investors? Or this might be a good opportunity to talk about the business you took over.
Oh, yes, that was fun. So we funded that with a bank loan. We bought an existing business with, it was good turnover and good goodwill, but Oh, do you really want me to tell you all about that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was horrible, Troy. It was horrible. So it was very nice people who owned a very nice business, and one of the things that they were very concerned about was to look after their team, which I completely understood. So we naively agreed to take everybody on, and that would be my first biggest mistake. Because what we didn't understand was that though they loved their team didn't really love them. Their team were really, really angry that the business was being sold out without them being aware of it.
Wow.
And so from that point onwards, it didn't matter what we did or how nice I was. Everything was viewed through this prism of distrust.
Yep.
And it was that was without a doubt the most difficult period in business that we've been through ever. So my advice for anyone looking to buy an existing business is make sure that you don't agree to employ everybody that's there, that you go through a recruitment process where people have the opportunity to apply for the positions in your business. And if there is someone who refuses to sign a contract because they didn't have an existing contract, don't give them a job.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Any other lessons learned about buying a business like that, apart from the, not committing to taking all the people on until you've put them through a vetting process? I mean, what about, do you feel you paid fair value for the business?
Yeah, so we paid, we negotiated over a long period of time, and I feel like it was a fair price for the business that we were taking over. There were lots, I mean, it wasn't a completely clean business decision in the sense that it was geographically very close to our home, so it offered a whole lot of lifestyle advantages to us, and these are all the things that you have to weigh up when you're looking at buying into an existing business. Would I do it again? Maybe, but differently.
Yep. So apart from that, the people question, what would you do differently next time?
It is only the people that I would do differently. Everything else has been fantastic.
Yeah,
everything else has been fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's a really good lesson to learn there, and I hope someone in the audience saves themselves a bit of pain from you sharing yours.
Sleepless nights.
Yeah. And what about when you funded the acquisition? Sorry, put this back into the funding bit. Yep. When you funded the acquisition, you said you took bank finance. Did you consider or do any part of that as vendor finance, where the seller is happy to take their payout over a longer period of time?
To be honest, Troy, it wasn't a big enough amount of money to need to do that. It was a pretty clean transaction, and it was a very accessible price. Yep,
great. And what about investors? You said you got some equity partners. Can you share?
Yeah. So when we did a startup in 2015, and in that startup we took in someone who had been an employee of ours and had moved on, but was someone that we saw had great potential, and also I think really importantly, very strong alignment on values.
Yep.
So I invited him to come back and to sort of enter into this venture with me, but as a minority partner.
Yeah.
That gave me the control that I wanted, but it gave him the, vested interest, I guess. So that one was a combination of some bank finance, some personal funds and equity. Yep. And that actually worked quite well.
Great. Yeah. And so and he's still there as an investor?
He's still there. So 5 years that business has been running for, and it's fantastic. We've just had our most profitable year.
Great. Wow. And did he go back into working in the business or just stay?
Yeah. So he works in the business. He does the stuff. I'm the person who, works on the businesses.
Yep.
And he likes that split. He doesn't have a great interest in doing the things that I do. And he builds his team and manages his team and looks after his location, and it's a really nice balance of skills.
So over the 5 years, have you had to do much of the physio work yourself?
Oh no, I don't touch people.
Oh right, okay. At all.
Ever.
So you're really running the business and growing it.
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't ever touch people.
Yeah, Dr. Sonia from Brisbane has got 4 sites, I believe. She's a dental practitioner, and they've only been going 5 or 6 years. That cast will be live pretty soon. It'll be live by the time yours is. But she still does 2 or 3 days herself working with customers in the chair because she's so passionate about it. And what what they're really focusing in on are customers that have pretty bad anxiety about going to the dentist. So they tailor all their marketing to that, to really, and obviously their offering and what they do to help patients get through that excruciatingly, painful, not physically necessarily. So I found that really interesting that she still chose to work in the business, even though she's got a big team, 4 sites, but it's because she loves doing, dental work.
Yeah. So I stopped being a physio a long time ago and went a different way. I came back into it. I have a deep belief that physiotherapists can be really useful to the world, but I really feel, the reason that I jumped out of physiotherapy when I was a young person was because there were no opportunities in our profession for people who were super motivated. It was just like you get a job and you just do the thing. And I saw a whole lot of, no physio is going to be happy to hear this, but a lot of very unmotivated people around me who weren't looking to be fantastic. I saw not one role model on my horizon. Yeah. So as a business owner now in this space, like we very consciously take on graduates, we mentor them, we support them, we want them to grow and be fantastic. We want them to be like Jude, who runs my Jordan Springs practice. That's what I'm looking to do, to kind of, because I might actually, to be honest, Troy, be like your Dr. Sonia and working a couple of days a week if I hadn't have had such a horrifying experience as a young professional in that profession myself. So I do think that it's interesting where you land where you do, but my passion is actually probably my people more than anything.
Yeah, great. And I've just remembered Kim Powell from Rejuvenators, who you may have heard of them. They've got, they do a lot of the hotel massages around Australia. Been going for about 27 years, I think, from memory. Her cast goes live. Her cast will be live by the time yours is, and she does the same. She still does the massages once or twice a week because she's really passionate about it. So, horses for courses, everyone's different.
Absolutely.
If you were a startup today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
No, maybe not. The thing that motivates me most about what I do now is that people development stuff, and that around making sure that the service that is available to the community is just, as good as it can be. But in terms of the reasons why I went into business, which is around that flexibility and kind of lifestyle and those things, I have discovered that there are actually other options out there.
Yep.
So if I was starting right now, at this point in my life, I would actually go straight into an online offering, and I'd be looking at doing something in that space. Yeah,
great. It's a very powerful business stream, I guess. There's a lot more sectors going online even before COVID hit, which is very encouraging.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk a bit about what you're planning to do there online?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Troy. So, COVID hit and we all freaked out, as did everybody else. And because I do have a big team, everybody was very anxious about their future and what they were doing. So we sat down and worked out how we can best use that time efficiently. And my team went away and variously put together a whole lot of pre-season strengthening and conditioning programs for a whole lot of different sports, kind of anticipating that they would come back, but after having sat at home for 6 months, they'd need to be doing something. And they did a great job, just completely independently. We've got soccer, we've got softball, we've got basketball, I think we've got rugby league, that all now sit on our YouTube channel. But it made me realise that there was actually a lot more that we could do with our professional skill set to support the community, using, the internet. So we are now developing a new online offering, which will be around helping people people maybe not like you, but maybe like me, of a particular age, whose knees maybe aren't doing what they need to be doing, because what we know from all the research is that great strength and conditioning can actually improve your function, improve your pain levels, and can mean that you can put off surgery and all of the challenges that go with that for a really long time. So taking people through a program that they can do from wherever they want to, at an accessible price, is our big play at the moment.
Yeah, great. And by the way, I'm 47. I think we're about the same age.
We are the same age, so your knees might hurt sometimes too.
No. I'm very fortunate not to. I did a lot of snow skiing when I was young, and didn't do any, and cricket and football, etc. And thankfully didn't do too much damage. But
well, Troy, you would be unusual
Yes.
Because it's actually very common. And I would say to you that even if you don't have pain now, work on it because you want to avoid issues.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're coming.
Yes, I know. I see all my mates around my age and even younger breaking down.
Yeah.
So,
You don't want to be the breaking down guy.
no, maybe I'm just lucky. Yeah.
I hope your luck continues.
Thank you. Just on the new business direction, I guess, with online. Out of interest, are you starting to build what Seth Godin calls a tribe and a following, like not just with the YouTube channel, but are you actively out there, for example, collecting email addresses ready for when you do launch the courses?
So as I said, Tina's my coach.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you that I'm very busy with my bricks and mortar business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we've got some things happening.
Yep.
But I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just plodding through at a pace that I feel comfortable with because I get myself sort of overwhelmed. We don't want that, do we? I prefer to go out to the garden every now and then.
Yes. Well, I'm sure Tina will say this, but my advice would be to get on to building that email list because it can sit there passively. It doesn't take much work. Email addresses are building up. It's phenomenal how quickly you can get a good following on email, and it's still the most effective way to market to people, not social media. It's on email. They say the money is in the list. So, have a think about that, whether you can any other ways to capture email addresses while you're building the courses and launching.
Did she tell you to say that to me today?
No. No, it's something I know very well. Listening to a lot of podcasts in the last 4 or 5 years, I'll share a story with you, Trisha, and I'll decide, Peter, if we'll leave this one in. But I'll give you an example of why this is powerful. It was about 10 years ago. I moved back from London. I lived there for 4 years. And I was coming back to Australia. I had a couple of weeks in Thailand, and I was on the beach there. It was where I dreamed up the idea of grow a small business, and couldn't believe the .com was available. So snapped that up, put together a quick WordPress site that looked really crappy. If anyone goes to archive.org, you can see how bad that looks. Threw that up, wrote about 35 or 36 wrote 35 or so blog posts, put that up. Got back to Australia, got busy, moved to Tasmania, been here for about 10 years now. And last year when I started thinking about rebooting Grow a Small Business and eventually putting some online courses up, I gave myself that same advice to make sure I'm building the list. So I put up a new website and remembered I had this little box in the right-hand corner saying, podcast launching soon, leave your email address. And that was 10 years ago. The only thing I ever changed from that website in Thailand was a year after when I heard on a podcast that the money's in the email list. I went back to the site, added that box, and then didn't do another thing. Not another blog post, never sent an email, obviously never launched the podcast till about 10 months ago. So earlier this year, rebooting this, I thought I'll go and have a look in MailChimp to see how many email addresses are there. Couldn't get in, emailed the guys, and they said, nah, there's no email addresses here. And I was scratching my head. I'm sure I was collecting email addresses. So next weekend, I had another thought that I had a WordPress plugin I'd use instead of MailChimp. So I went back in, had a look, there it was. I thought, this will be interesting. Over 10 years, I wonder how many email addresses I've got with no marketing, no advertising, never launched the podcast. And I had a look, I thought 367 emails, that's not too bad. And I thought I'll have a look through to see how many of that is my network. And then I realized, Trisha, it was 367 pages.
Oh my God. 10,000
email addresses. People had left because they want to hear a podcast about what we're talking about right now, how to grow a small business and the pain to get through that, the chasm. So it can be really powerful and just sat there. I did not do another thing. But obviously these days you can be a lot more proactive about capturing email addresses. And I'm sure Tina will be on you about it very soon. And I think you should listen to her sage advice.
I do have a landing page and I have collected, I'll be honest, one.
But even the YouTube, like there's techniques to get email addresses from people watching YouTube. So
yeah, I know. So my thing is that because most of our marketing and all of our stuff, so we have blogs and we have all the things, but they've always been directed back to the bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
So it's a new offering and pushing in a different direction. So
So I'd work on your landing page, start collecting those email addresses. Tina's the best one to talk to on that. And start building that list. Like it'll take a little bit of work now and they'll set and forget, and then you can get back to doing all the other stuff. So
all the things.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
So after that little discussion we've had, Troy, and I previously reflected on this and thought I don't actually get this right all the time, but I think I'm working on it. So for me, I've spent lots of time on team and culture and developing my team, and I do think that was the right choice because right now we are reaping the benefits of that. High quality people doing high quality work with very happy clients is, perfect. I need to spend more time on marketing and development, and that's my weakness. It's not my happy place. I'm not. What did you say Tina was before?
No, she's like an Energizer bunny.
Yes, I'm not that person. So and it's that's the way it is, isn't it, in small business? And I think I read Traction by Walt. What's his name? It's on my shelf. Wickman. And he talks about all of the different, things that you might do in a business, all the different roles.
Yep.
And the reality is, in a small business, you have all of them. They are all you.
Yep.
And it's, the nature of us that we will tend to the things that we feel most comfortable with and the things that we find easiest. Not always are they the best things to be doing.
No.
So I recognise that my failing is that I need to work on those things that I don't love so much.
I'll say two things that I think you chose wisely, which is to work on the team and the culture first, because that's your foundation. There's no point marketing, a shitty product or service and just getting more people in and getting a bad experience. You get the team right. Totally agree with that. The second thing is I'll mangle one of my favourite quotes from Peter Drucker, which is there are only two things in business that create value. That's marketing and innovation. Everything else is a cost. So, from marketing becomes sales, etc. So that's, really important to hone in on. I wasn't big on marketing when I started 20 years ago in small business, but I sure as hell now swat up a lot on it continually. I've got marketing mentors online and offline. I'm nowhere near an expert, but I've read a lot and have a good network to bounce off, What have you enjoyed the least about managing the fast growth?
So even though I love my people, it's the people.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. As I like to say, people are the hardest thing in business and where the value's at.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you love most about growing a small business?
I love that I can make it whatever I want. So when something occurs to me, it's like, well, I can do that, right? Which you can't do when you're working for someone else. So absolutely, that sort of, it's endless. There's endless opportunities.
Yeah. And what's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
That I actually don't need to do everything.
Mm-hmm. How have you gone with delegation over the years? Are you a natural delegator?
Oh no, I'm a shit delegator. Terrible.
As we start out. We soon learn though, don't we?
But I have, so one of the things that I have done the last few years is engage with different sort of groups and mentoring groups. So now I don't have sort of single mentors. I've been involved in programs with Business Chicks and now with Tina, and that has exposed me to groups of women who are doing the sorts of things that I'm doing.
Yep.
And that has helped me sort of having some accountability to other people around, doing things like getting a bookkeeper, get a bookkeeper.
Marketing.
Yeah, still,
yeah.
I did get a website person to manage my website, so I have done stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing, I'm still working on that, Troy. Yeah, we'll get there.
Good. And what's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I think you need to be really good at batching tasks.
Yeah.
It's not my great skill, but I did develop my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday folders so that I could sort of say, right, Fridays, Tuesday's finance, and anything that comes across my desk that's finance, just stick it in there till Tuesday, because it's just so easy just to be kind of pushing between all of the bright, shiny things that take up your attention, especially like at the moment, my phone's got 5 lights ringing. I'm just ignoring it.
Yep.
There's always something.
Yeah, that's great. Have you read Cal Newport's book called Deep Work?
No.
I'll send that one to you. It's a great book, and he talks a lot about the cost of switching, so going in between different things, in a day, plus having all those notifications on, and we get fatigued, and our willpower and our creativity is worn down by the end of the day. The more that we have, the more switching we do, and the more interruptions and notifications, etc., the more value that we're destroying. So it's a great book. I highly recommend it. Not just about batching, but working to your energy levels as well. Yeah, it's a really, really good book.
You should do that, Troy.
I do that.
Yes, he eats. He drinks Red Bull and eats chocolate cake.
No, I generally I've got a rule, which is the no morning meeting rule. I don't have meetings in the morning because that's when I'm most creative and have my greatest energy. Mm-hmm. So in the afternoons, I'm easier. I can talk just as well then as I can when I'm at my highest energy. So there's little things like that I've picked up over the years, plus pulled out of Cal Newport's book, that have made me get a shitload more productive and happier and less stressed over the last few years.
Sounds like all the good things.
Yeah. Jump over to growersmallbusiness.com and leave your details to get a short 2-minute email I send on Fridays to help small business owners like you become better leaders. I include some reading or professional development resources I've discovered in the last week. And can you talk about how you added people to the team, some wins, mistakes and advice for those listening?
Added people. Is that a question on there? Sorry. Oh, God.
You missed it?
No, I'm just got to scroll down my page. Sorry. I'm sorry, your friend. Okay, so over time we worked out that employing people who had worked in other places for periods of time wasn't always going to be a great fit for us because of that whole piece around the expectations of quality that we have in our team. So we have worked out that for us, the best thing to do is take new graduates into our team, put them with mentors in our team and invest heavily in them to make them really good at what they do.
So you mould them into your culture, your way of thinking.
We mould them into our culture and our way of thinking. And it's sort of like having a big family. You hear these conversations going on that you're not at the centre of. And for me, that's the most thrilling thing when I hear my words coming out of other people's mouths around me.
Yep.
My learning is never employ the person who turns up for a professional interview in sweaty football shorts.
Please tell me you didn't hire them.
I prefer not to discuss it.
You did.
And that's about pressure and time.
Yeah.
So, like in a small business, that growth thing is really difficult. And, you can see your team getting busier. You can't take on the next person too early because the cost is too high on the business. So you're looking to kind of do everything at exactly the right time. But the reality is that at the right time for your business, there might not be the right person available.
Yep.
And then you're trying to decide, can I mould what's available or do I need to just kind of wait? And it's tricky because when your team is too busy, they're under pressure and they're not loving what they're doing as much. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
I think that speaks to, and the guys at Manager Tools talk a bit about this. Have you heard of the Manager Tools podcast? I'll shoot that through to you as well. Let me just write that down.
You're going to give me so much work, Troy.
I know, it's homework, and I think I'll be giving you more homework than Tina.
You know what? Sounds like it.
Mark and Mike at the Manager Tools talk about, not just from a career point of view, but as a business owner's point of view, is to keep your network active. That is, there might be some great candidates in your industry that you one day may want for them to come across and work for you. So it's a matter of putting a recurring reminder in your calendar, and every quarter is just spend half a day reaching out to those people that you think one day when we're big enough and we need the next person, want to bring them on board. So take them out for a coffee or give them a call, keep that network active. And it's not much time, but it can be really powerful because then when it is time to take on that next role and you've already got an A player in mind you want to poach, then they're already warmed up. You're not, it's not the first date scenario again.
That's a great idea. And I think we do that, to be honest,
yeah.
But it's in our industry at the moment, it's incredibly tight.
Yeah.
It has been for a long time. We have huge attrition out of the profession. And I think that's because not everyone's as great as me at what they do.
You're great. Just before I forget, and Peter can cut this out, a good mate of mine now, he moved from Sydney about 15 months ago. He was a physio out of physio practice up there in Sydney. Steve McCullough.
No, I don't know, Steve.
No, okay. That's all right. I'll play a bit of golf with him. The other thing I'm an advocate of is if you've come across an A player, both they've got a great attitude, they're smart, and they love your culture and are aligned, and you're not quite there yet to take them on, I always look to when I'm working with other founders and say, look, let's just really have a hard think of this and a hard look at the business to make sure this person is available now. And if we can't make them fit, we might be 6 months too early, but can we bear that cost? Because as you would know, the chasm between an A player and a B player is massive.
Yeah.
So you try and make room as best you can if you have to hire that role 6 months earlier, because you'll get that dividend back.
It's just, absolutely. It's just timing.
Yep. What are some things you'd recommend to building a sustainable kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
So I would say that team is everything. In our team, we don't have any prima donnas. So nobody is more important than anybody else because everyone has a really important to play. It doesn't matter if it's a junior receptionist or the most senior physio. every client is in contact with all of those people, and any one of them can make it fall apart.
Yeah.
So we have we're very strong on that. We're all a part of a team to achieve an outcome for our patients. We have really clearly articulated values that we talk about regularly. I have sit down, we call them planning meetings, every quarter with every team member, with myself and with their direct supervisor. And in that meeting, we sit down and work out what's going well, what's going not so well, what can we change, what can they change, and then, off we go. And it just makes sure everybody's on track all the time. They know exactly what the expectations are. I'm picking up problems before they actually become problems.
Right.
Because I want stability in my team. That's the easiest thing for me, if I can just keep everybody happy.
Yep.
The other thing that we do is have monthly town hall Zoom meetings.
Yeah, good.
Where everybody can jump on. It's only 15 minutes because not everybody's at work all the time, and I don't want to be stealing people's time.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, like this, we had one this week. The chat was about culture. That idea that every good thing or every bad thing, we need to share it, and it's a safe place to share it, because those are the things that will help us to be, always better.
Yep.
We actually have a whole group chat on one of the social media platforms that anyone can jump onto at any time. So it might be me saying, hey guys, has anyone got a photo of this today? Want to put it up on socials? Or it might be, Christmas party coming up, or it might be, whatever, someone's had a baby, but it's just that kind of just to make sure that everyone feels like they're a part of something constantly. And I think the big thing for me is that I really value everyone that works in my business, and I really believe that they know that. There's a new book out, Troy, on breathing.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Some New York.
I think it's easy without a chest infection.
Yeah, I know, but
I was going to touch on that point. So with your full-time directs, how often do you do one-on-ones with them?
Well, we have a management, like those people I have a management meeting with them every week. So like a little group, there's 4, and we sit down every week. We have an agenda we go through. So we talk about all the stuff that we need to be looking at in the business.
But that's the management team, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what about...
They're my direct reports. I don't talk to everybody else.
No, that's right. So, but your a manager, yourself included, do you have weekly one-on-ones with your direct reports, or yours is a group one?
Mine's a group one. I don't do, direct.
No worries.
I have more... So I would speak to everybody every week.
Yep, great.
But that's not a part of our formal meeting kind of planning.
No worries. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Oh, well, I don't really believe in balance. Mm-hmm. In the sense that, people get this idea that balance means every day has to be balanced, and I just think that's just crap. Sorry?
It's a crock of shit, yeah.
It is, absolutely. Like, it's more like sprints and rests. And sometimes you just have to work really hard, and you have to work hard until you've done that thing, knowing that that's not how it's going to be forever. I think the issue becomes an issue when you don't have the rest. So for me, it's just to kind of manage that. I try and so one of my things is I try and exercise really regularly. I love running. I especially love running in the bush. So I've got a group of people that I go and do that with, and we don't talk about work things, and we have coffee, and it's very relaxing.
Right.
And I have a garden, but mainly it's just about knowing that some days are crazy and some days are less so, and not letting it kill me.
Yep. How much professional development did you invest in yourself?
So interesting that, because obviously as a physiotherapist and then as a lawyer, loads of professional development is just required to retain professional stuff. And I also am a company director. So again, all of the obligatory professional development. As a business owner, I had to kind of get my head around it, because one of the challenges in this space is that the experts are sometimes hard to spot. Mm-hmm. In law, for example, it's very clear who the experts are. Yeah. They've spent years in the profession. They're kind of, the path is clear. Yeah. So business I found more challenging. So for me, the things that I have invested in is sort of peer-to-peer mentoring groups, where I'm able to kind of work with a group of people, and that has been really good for me. And now I think, I would have probably benefited from a mentor, but that's okay. We've got
the next question. Yeah. That's good. What about, so do you listen to or read many books on, I guess, around in the business, the growth, the management?
Not enough, to be honest. I buy a lot of books in business and in management, and then I'll go watch Netflix.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, I know I could have lied. I mean, like I have read a few that I've found really good, but none that are huge standouts. I get most benefit from other people telling me about their experience.
Yep, great. Have you read Built to Last or Good to Great by Jim Collins?
No. Add it to the list, Troy.
I'm doing it right now. I'm adding it in. Great. Yeah, I'm the same. I love listening to my professional development audio books or podcasts when I'm taking Douglas for a bushwalk, or I'm cleaning the house or ironing. I find that works really well.
It makes housework much less annoying.
It does, indeed. Yeah. And so you haven't had any mentors or coaches over the years?
No, not specifically. So I have certainly reached out to people who have been helpful at different points in my career. So and I have got a very unusual sort of career progression. It's not been linear in any way.
Yep.
So at different points in time, there have been different people who've certainly helped me on my path. And still, I reach out to different people for different things. And now it's very much around these peer-to-peer mentoring groups, which are, significant financial investment, but give me access to lots of different people.
Yep, great. And do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, I don't. Though I would say that I have an informal advisory group, and that has grown from those types of groups. And now it's like a very regular monthly meetup with specific what's happening, what do you so there's accountability sort of stuff happening with them, with those people, which is very helpful because it is easy to get off track.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. All right, Trish, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The hardest thing. Oh, here we go, down here. Time and money, Troy.
And favourite business book which has helped you the most?
Actually, I'm going to say Tina's Towers book, which is called One Life.
Yep.
And it's not specifically a business book, but it's very much a reminder that you just get one crack. So you might as well have a really good crack.
Yep.
And, all the other stuff is just noise.
Yeah, she certainly does that. I love the bit in the cast where she says, started age 20, opened 3 stores, kids' books and stores and the tutoring service. Then I thought I'd give franchising a go. Had, year 7, started that. By year 13, she'd sold out, had 35 franchisees and was burnt out, had adrenal fatigue. And after selling that, went and started another 6 businesses.
No, right? And, that isn't necessarily the right thing for everybody, but that's the right thing for her. But I think the thing that I like about Tina is that she's very aware, she brings great awareness. It's not just happening randomly. Like she's actually thinking and being, very conscious in the decisions that she makes in her life. And I think that's awesome. Yeah,
great. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your professional development?
So, as we've said, people are my thing. And I love Brene Brown stuff. So she's brought, her COVID Pivot's been her podcast, which has been my housework kind of companion for the last few months. And I have really enjoyed that because I just, the way that people interact and it's important in my business in terms of the way that we deal with our clients, but it's also in terms of I manage with, work with my people, is really helpful.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of one of her sayings there that clear is kind. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just lovely. I mean, if everyone was I won't say like Brene because I think Brene struggles with it all as well, but if everybody kind of thought about her philosophies and lived by some of those things, the whole world would be a much nicer place.
Yes. And one tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I pondered on this for a long time, Troy, and I didn't come up with anything. Do you want to give me one and I'll repeat it back to you?
What do you think? I mean, you can say a great team is a tool to help with the growth.
Actually, okay, so what I would say to that question, Troy, is the greatest tool I have had is my ability to listen to my team and to respond to what they've needed.
Yep.
And so that, if listening is a tool, then that is the thing.
Definitely is, yeah. Finally, my favourite question. What would you tell yourself on day 1 of starting out?
Well, it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Very much so.
And another thing, and that is that the to-do list will never be finished.
Yes, absolutely.
So get over that.
Yep. A good friend of mine, I saw her on a LinkedIn video recently, and she threw this concept out there, which I hadn't thought of or heard of before, which is the not to-do list. So take something off your to-do list that you will never get to any day ever, and just put it on the other list so it doesn't keep clogging up your actual to-do list.
That is such a great idea. I had a bullet journal for a while. And that actually did my head in because it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger with all the things I was never going to do. So I just had to get rid of it.
Well, being a gardener, you've got to prune it and keep it, manageable. And if you're staring at this one item going, I want to learn to skydive, and actually, I'm never going to do that, chuck it on the other list. It's still there if one day you think you have second thoughts, but more likely than not, you won't do that in the next 5-10 years.
Add it to your 50 at 50.
Yeah, that's it. All right, well, thanks for your time today, Trisha. I think the audience will get a lot of value out of what you've discussed with us today and shared. And a really impressive journey over the last 5 years. Congratulations on the growth to yourself, your husband and the team and the other business partners. It was wonderful to speak with you today and hear it all.
Thank you so much, Troy. And I think I swore more than you.
Yeah, that's it. That's because I'm sick. I'm not as attentive as I normally am at the moment. I'm vaguing out sometimes. Yeah.
Not on your game. Never mind.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.